Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, Misha B, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7 and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, Misha B, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7 and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I want to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, Misha B, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7, and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I want to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, Misha B, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7, and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, Misha B, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7, and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, Misha B, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7, and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, Misha B, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7, and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, Misha B, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7, and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, Misha B, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7, and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world. That includes you, Dane. Right, we're going on. Come on, lass. Let's have it.
This.
Remember our conversation between you, what you
Yeah.
enjoyed about last year?
Yes.
What it was about,
Yes.
get me, what you part of, what you love.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
35, 34, 32.
Some things just kind of talk about the feelings and the themes,
Yeah,
because that's the thing that's worked on.
Yeah, we got this.
Yeah, we got this. So we're gonna. Which camera are we
we're
looking
looking-
into? This
this
one.
one.
Yeah, that
This
one.
one.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
This one here, yeah. Cool. Woo! We're going on. Let's have it. 5, 4. Oh,
No way.
what result? I needed an extra minute.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African
Oh,
Congress that happened right here
1, 2, 1, 2.
in Manchester.
1,
I'm
2.
going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that
1, 2,
supported
1, 2.
us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman,
Two.
Misha B,
Yeah.
Drea Mac,
Perfect.
Abnormal Sleeps, July
Oh my
7,
God, I'm so
many,
excited.
many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions and live film
Yeah, sounds
premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world.
Yeah.
We're live. Welcome to See My World 21. Baby, let's hear a round of applause. Let's have it.
Come on.
Yeah, man. Welcome to Tumia presenter this year was Jen Sek. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, you know. Last year we had some great foundations and we're just going to build bigger and better now for 2021.
Last year was so fantastic, man. We only did it for like 3-4 days, and it's 8 days this year. Last year, you see the same people that's here last year, here this year, and that's what I love about this festival, you know what I'm saying? So, back with the youth panel, back with the women's panel.
Yeah.
Last year we had the live lounge, we got that again.
Yeah.
All the sponsors that we had, we have to be grateful for the European Social Fund, Young Identity that funded us, Contact Theatre, MIF, Manchester City Council, BPM, and the list goes on. So really, really grateful for that. So what are we saying about this year's festival?
The themes from last year, we're going to try and build on those, make it bigger and better, and understand the context now with which we need to achieve the new frontier, the new legacy. So
All right
the
then.
themes from last year,
Yes.
you know, that was monumental. We've got the manifesto to launch as well. That's
forward
really,
to
really
that.
important. So I think we're just going to try and discuss some of those themes, understand what's brought us to this level now, and then the mindset needed to get to where we're going.
Fantastic. And what kind of themes did we get from last year's festival?
Arts and culture, economic independence, capital, training skills, policy reform. That was a really interesting one that we got from the panel with our elders.
Yeah.
Understanding that policy context, we're living in different times now, and how the challenge is evolving, and how we're going to try and tackle those.
Yeah, man. So it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. I know you've been locked in for the last day or so, and obviously people streaming in today, you would have come to our event. So let's just go through those. So we have to big up everyone who came to support the small live launch which was the soft launch of the festival on Sunday at Contact Theatre. Absolutely amazing. 200 people signed up for that. We had the performance from Ziggy Taylor. We had the performance from Musumba. What did you think of Musumba, mate?
As in, it's like it was a trance I was in with her voice, you know? And then the imagery that she had in the background as well was amazing.
The visuals.
Yeah.
Gospel singer.
Yeah, the
spiritual
gospel,
singer.
that was amazing. You know, in this spiritual warfare that we have right now, you need to remember the Most High. So,
yeah.
that was amazing.
Ziggy Taylor as well, just come back with big tunes, The World. So talented singer, actor, dancer. My family as well love him to bits. Such an amazing performer. The launch of the digital archive, just a fantastic event, and just have to big it up to the BBC crew. Have to big up Aisha. Let's have a round of applause for Aisha and the team. Yeah, the whole BBC team, AIM, Ricardo, Woody, etc. Absolutely phenomenal. Big up the Contact team as well for all the support they gave us. Yeah, We Are Parable. We had a Q&A with 2 melanated film producers, Keisha and We Are Parable. We had Jennifer come up, Jennifer Martin. Absolutely
incredible.
Amazing.
Those 2 plays were just incredible, and I'm really happy that we had the audience able to interact with them as well and understand those really subtle moments within both of the plays and how it resonated with each person and what they took from it as well. And again, the context with which we're operating in, I keep saying it, it's important. And both films were able to sort of understand the past 2 years that we've had now with lockdown, how it's affected people. And then also with the policy framework as well. Immigration, a very pertinent topic at the moment, which we'll explore in our panels later on. You know, so I think Sunday was an amazing soft launch. And we got a lot of content as well for our archive. Big things coming.
I've never actually been to a panel where there's like melanated women film directors, film producers. So it was nice to see what they'd speak about in terms of being a melanated woman in that industry, what their experience was, how that's influenced their work, being able to give people those little tidbits of advice in terms of how to create a film, etc., and what challenges they had to face, and those social issues, like you said.
Yeah, definitely.
About deportation.
Well, that's something that we really need to talk about, because the film explored a lot of different aspects of immigration, and that's what I liked as well, from different contexts, you know. And she was able to talk to us about what her thought process was behind exploring that in more detail, and that sort of artistic idea of what's needed to try and convey the real brutality of immigration, things like that. So really, really amazing.
There's a special day as well. It's Keisha's birthday, so big up Keisha Thompson for
Happy
your
birthday.
For real. Big up. Yeah, bless the stage. 45-minute feature film, which is fantastic, about her journey of being an author, you know. A collection of music videos as well, so that was fantastic. So then we go to Monday, and we had the workshop at the University of Manchester with 8 full youth on a post-traumatic stress disorder. Very, very interesting topic. From the Moss as well, in the heart of Manchester. Really interesting stuff, and the work that they do is really important in terms of healing within the community, but also the members that they have. Oh my gosh, the young people that 84 Youth have, and the support that they actually give the organisation through their experience is absolutely ridiculous. Like, these young people from these streets, man, they're absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, big up to 84 Youth and all their members for that one. Let's hear a round of applause. And we come to Tuesday at Studio 25, Love Studio 25. Thanks for the support with that. Really appreciate it. And House X, so they did their kind of dance workshop, which is amazing. Yeah, we had a look at that. We were there, weren't we, Aisha? So that was fantastic. And thanks for the participants for coming to that. So it's really interesting stuff. A kind of collective of creatives that are working together, etc., etc. So that was fantastic. I love this little live stream thing that we've got going here. So
it's a good setup, isn't it?
So so that was good. And then yesterday we had the Manchester Hip Hop Archive Symposium.
Incredible.
No. That's the realest panel I've ever been to in my life.
That was another level. And the passion in the room as well. we're taking it all the way back, and it's nice how we were able to see that mix between the US scene and the UK scene as well, where the inspiration was coming from, you know. That was incredible. And the format of it was just, everything was just so on point.
No, man, like,
Amazing.
if it weren't for them, like, we wouldn't even be here. Like, them lot were doing it when there was no dough in it.
There we go.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just doing it for the love and still pioneering, bringing the hardest skills, still here today to tell the story. I have to big up Sefton and Greenie and all the researchers, Eddie, etc., all the panelists that were there. You can find them on our website, seemyworld.net. Just absolutely breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. I have to big up Greenie and Sefton as well for giving me the black on black Manchester Hip Hop Archive, like low life kind of crest
The
t-shirt,
merch,
man.
the money in the merch.
I'm going to be repping that different. I'm going to be repping that for real. So yeah, so that was cold, and then the pictures, you can see them on social media soon for real.
Yeah.
Nah, man, we're going to do more with him, but just have to thank God, man.
Always
God
the
is
Most High.
different.
Come on.
God is absolutely different. This festival's been amazing.
Yeah.
And now we're with you guys today. So just coming up today, we've got a Zoom talk with Professor Hakim Adi, talking about the solutions, his experience of writing a book of the 5th Pan-African Congress and what we could be also doing with the festival moving forward in terms of trying to create equality for all people. And obviously all Pan-Africans across the world, so looking forward to that. So yeah, we're going to have the live audience and the Zoom audience as well.
Yeah. Hakim Adi, because last year, he was able to give us so much in terms of what was needed for us to even carry on doing this, you know. And I keep mentioning this context and the policy framework, and because he's had that very academic background, I'm really looking forward to hearing what he's got to say this year about how we can take our own pillars, you know, from the festival, from BPC in general, and from the manifesto, and then how we can continue to build something that is resistance, you know, to the opposing forces that govern. So that'll be really interesting. I'm looking forward to that.
And obviously BPC is a company in its own right, and See My World is a project, and it's there to create solutions for the Pan-African community and show Pan-African excellence and create equality through our excellence. So yeah, Professor Hakim Adi is of that ilk. Obviously just down this road, just there, literally like 30 yards is where the 5th Pan-African Congress happened, where 29 countries across the world of the African diaspora got together in that building on this campus to discuss how we can create equality and excellence and socio-economic mobilization and equality across the world. So I have to big up the memory of the ancestors, Amy Ashwagavi, George Padmore, Dr. Nkrumah,
W.E.B. Du Bois.
Kenyatta. These are big state people that came to Manchester, and all Mancunians from all ethnicities came to that conference to support that global mission for equality across the world and excellence. So yeah, we have to thank God for that. So we're going to move into that, and then after that we got a talk with a Sideman, just chopping up with him. Obviously we didn't have hardly nothing last year, and he was there to support us. His thing's going solar. He's got that new podcast.
Amazing, with ZZ. Woo, come on.
Yeah, it's proper. So talk about that and just things, what's going on with like Pan-African community, African Caribbeans, Africans in Britain, etc., across the world, and what's changed since George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and etc., etc., etc. So God rest their soul, and what we could be doing moving forward. So yeah, so stay locked in, guys, and make sure you tune in at 15:15 for this talk with Professor Hakim Adi. So we'll see you in.
It's going to be going all the way off.
See my world, baby. See my world.
Oh.
Right, so let's get the Zoom on.
Come on.
So easy.
Yeah.
Well done, Les. Well done, Les.
Yeah,
We're staying
that's
on
it.
that. Hey, you over there? Hey, yeah.
here. Well, I don't know. Everybody had their videos. Have I worn it before? I couldn't remember if I'd worn it before or not. It's just a nice sweatshirt from a college in the US, but it's kind of nice, so, you know, I thought I'd wear it tonight. I didn't realize I'd worn it before, I forgot.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
You know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, Misha B, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7, and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions, and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world.
Yeah, but you can use this mic for
One, two.
I think I just muted our issues on here, so I think that might have been it. It might have been that laptop over there. Cool. Are we ready to roll?
Yeah, it sounds much better to me.
Cool. Are you okay, Hakeem? Can you hear everything?
Let me take these. I'll take this mic off. I don't need it.
Okay.
I
I
guess
can't really hear him now.
Echoes are.
If you keep speaking,
ready when
Hakeem,
you're ready.
please.
Sorry?
If you keep speaking, please, that'd be great. We're just trying to get your levels right.
No, but okay, no, that's just lined up now. It was out of sync before.
I can't see you though. Why can't I see you?
You can't see me. Turn it off. Mute the volume. I'll turn it off. That's as high as it can go. Cool. Professor,
I
can you
can
hear?
hear you, but I can't see you.
Do you want me to put my camera on?
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
There you go, bro. Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th
You're looking very
Pan-African
smart.
Congress
That's a
that
nice
happened right
shade
here
of green.
in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the
Me-
14,000
me-
people
me to me.
from the 66 countries
Do you remember
that
Timmy
supported
Timmy
us.
Timmy?
Gen Sec last year?
Yeah, Jen
You know we got to
Sek
go
last year. Nice
harder,
to
we
see
got to
you
go
again.
bigger than the last.
Okay.
The performances from
Wow,
Western,
Yeah,
Sideman, Misha B,
I can hardly
Drea
believe
Mac,
it's a year
Abnormal
ago.
Sleeves,
I know.
July
Can you believe
7,
it, brother?
many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions, and live film premieres
Time flies.
in
Seems like
person,
longer
online,
to
and
me.
live
It's
stream
been a long year.
from seemyworld.net.
It's gone quick.
Get your
No,
tickets
mine
on
feels
Skittles,
like-
Dice,
yeah,
and
mine feels very
Eventbrite.
Yeah.
Online or live in the flesh. Come on, you've got to
So
be
much
there.
has happened. It's mad.
Come see our world.
But we rise.
Yeah. So basically, when I cue you, we've
I
got
think 1 year is merging into the next year.
Oh mate, it's just life now. It's not even a year's. Minute to minute, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I was gonna say. So this. So we're gonna have a 2-minute cue. One cue is just a countdown, and then another cue is actually where it goes live. But there's a minute video. And then when we speak, like you say, it's just going to be freestyle conversation. Tommy's going to want to ask you on like some real political stuff about policy and stuff like that. So obviously you've had a lot of experience in that field. So with your writing and stuff like that, I'm sure we can get a lot of rich feedback from yourself.
Hope so. Depends what she asks me.
Nah, we'll freestyle. You know a lot anyway, so you've got so much to talk about. For real. So what we saying, guys? Are we ready to go live? That's it. 5 minutes.
Oh wow. Okay. That's when stains
minutes.
happen. Do you know what I mean? That's
Right, Professor Hakim
that was
Hadi,
the ideal. But
we're
I
literally
can't
going to
risk
go
it.
for about. Actually, guys, we need to start at 25 past because I understand this was supposed to start at 1/4
Oh. So what time is it now, please?
past. It's 23 minutes.
Okay.
We got 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. So, guys, let's start rolling. Can you? Is there anyone else coming in? Because we need the live audience. Roll. Let me see. How fast?
So to me,
Yeah.
Yeah, 25 past because we were gonna go
Do
to
it
quarter
live?
two to
Pardon?
speak to Sideman, but obviously we've pre-recorded that, so we can push that like 5 minutes for people still.
we're walking over us, so
We'll be able to conversate in a minute. When this bandwidth gets better.
yeah.
Okay, no, it's back. It's back. That's what. Oh,
45. 6:45.
so how long are we given for this conversation?
It's gonna be half an hour,
Okay, okay.
but we'll give it 10.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries
We're
that
ready.
supported us.
You ready, Hakeem?
You know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger
Barney.
than the last. The performances from Western,
Barney.
Sideman,
Yeah, let's go,
Misha
let's
B,
go.
Drea Mac, Abnormal
Can I ask for
Sleeves,
some
July
crowd
7,
participation? Just
many,
like
many
some
more.
Noise.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions,
another
and live
mic at
film
all?
premieres in person, online, and live
think
stream
we need-
from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skittles, Dice,
Just
and
want to bring you
Eventbrite.
in a liquor, you know?
Online or live in the flesh. Come on, you've got to be there.
Okay, cool.
Come see our world.
I'm gonna bring you in. 2 minutes, Hakeem. Smash it, brother. Wanna hear some lyrics? Proper lyrics.
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, Misha B, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7, and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world. Yo, welcome back to See My World Festival 2021. Let's hear some noise.
Come on.
Yeah, man. The big up our live studio audience in here. I can see Renee's come down, innit? You know what I mean? All the people there, Malabi, Dane, Steve, Ricardo, Woody, Aisha, Saif, Tunde's in the back there. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, so we're here live now. We've got to talk with Professor Hakeem Adi that wrote the book with his partner on the 5th Pan-African Congress, which is basically the reason why we're here today. And it happened 30 yards just down there in the Chatham building. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to this. What are you saying? What are you saying to me?
That book brings us here, as you said. It set the framework, it unpicked a lot of the political context and that format for resistance, which is what Pan-Africanism is all about, resistance against economic forces. So I'm keen to discuss with Hakeem about the new context with which we find ourselves in, you know, with what's happening in the world with COVID, for example, new economic forces and what that frontier of resistance looks like in the digital age. So I've got some questions. I
love that. And also to add to that, obviously for See My World, it's about solutions.
Solutions focused.
So that's the main element of what we're doing. So as many solutions as possible as to create equality through excellence and all of us being united in creating that excellence, obviously with the Pan-African community, but then incorporating other ethnicities, because at that 5th Pan-African Congress, you had people from all nationalities that were there. And we're very grateful for the support from everybody who's participated from 1945, before 1945 until this day. So let's introduce the man himself, Professor Hakeem Adi. So everyone give a round of applause. So what are you saying, Professor?
Well, that's a typical Manchester, when I'm in Manchester or when I'm around Manchester, so it's good to be welcomed in.
Fantastic. How's the last year been for you, given like the pandemic, the rollout of the vaccinations, you know, the lockdowns, coming out of lockdowns, you know, how's that been for you?
Busy.
What's been going on?
Well, I've been working on a couple of books and, you know, doing all the usual things, teaching, writing, speaking, working with my Young Historians project, working with History Matters. We just had a go, trying to encourage more and more young people, African and in history. More or less the same for me, apart from having a few jabs and keeping away from people who look like they might infect.
Okay. So you've been hibernating, haven't you? You've been
but I've been carrying on work. Been allowed. You know, I had a book to finish, and I couldn't allow something like COVID to stop me writing, working, researching. You know, so that had to go on. Teaching has to go on. The work to investigate history, to involve young people, all these things have to go on. They can't stop because of COVID or influenza or, you know, things have to go on. Life has to go on.
And how was it actually hibernating down where you were in Kent that time?
It was nice, very nice here by the seaside. I walk along the beach every day. I did my walk today, same way. It's a bit colder today, but yeah, it's nice. It's a nice environment to work in, to write in. Not too many distractions, quiet. Communing with nature every day. I'm looking out the window now, nice sunset, nature all around, trees, clouds, birds, sea, sky.
Sounds beautiful. Sounds absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So what are you doing? Going on walks, just thinking about your book. What's your book about?
My book is about the history of African and Caribbean people in Britain, going back from, I suppose I go back to Cheddar Man, so that's about 10,000 years ago, and all the way up until Black Lives Matter, so 2020. So 10,000 years.
10,000 years in one book.
Well, 10,000 years overall, but I guess about 2,000 years of history. So, you have to keep working at it and, stick at it. You can't just pick it up and then say, oh, there's COVID, so I'm not going to do it. You have to keep doing it. And that's what I've been doing. So when I finished that one, I started another one. These last few months. So I'm busy working, I'm busy doing what I work story, and life goes on. Same things that need to be done in terms of history, and of course in terms of politics, because we don't study history just to understand the past, but in order to understand the present and to change the present for the better. So, that work has to carry on. And in these days, with the technology we have, as we can see tonight, it doesn't really matter where you are in the world. We talk to each other, we teach each other, we work with each other. It doesn't matter where we are. Distance doesn't make much difference. It's nice to be in the same room, but if we can't be in the same room, we can still organize, we can still work together, we can still, all the things like I say, it hasn't made much difference to me.
Fantastic. Wow. Just tell us a little bit about the research that you've done for that book, because actually that sounds so interesting.
Well, the book tries to, kind of build on not only the work that I've done, but the work of other people have done over the last, maybe 30 odd years, and try and present it in a way that, people can pick up the book and they can, if they're interested in, what happened in the 1930s, they can find some information about that. If they're interested in what happened in the 18th century, they can find out something about that. If they're interested in what was going on in Roman times, they can find out something about that. So it presents that history. It tries to give people, some examples, some evidence, some, quotations, some things that people said maybe at the time, depending on what the period is. And hopefully it gives people enough references to investigate some of these things for themselves. There's some material online that people can look at. There's other books and articles that people may not be aware of. So I try to present that history and have a look at we like to say everything began in 1948 with some ship docking at Tilbury or some kind of nonsense. So we want to get away from that idea for two reasons. One is because there's the 2,000 years before that we need to take account of. And the other thing is that is a bit of a problem because it kind of makes out that everybody came from the Caribbean on one ship. And most people didn't come from the Caribbean. They didn't come on a ship. Most people came from the African continent anyway. And so there's a kind of distortion of this history, which everyone tries to fit into, a kind of box. And you can't fit history into a box. You have to present it as it is. So the book tries to present that history as far as it can so that people can understand it, as I say, and find some things that are of interest to them, right up to, 2 years ago. So obviously it can't cover everything in enormous detail, but I'm not sure how many pages it is. It's probably about 500 pages or something, the book.
Wow.
It took me about 3.5 years to write. So hopefully it covers most things that people would be interested in. And as I say, if there's not enough there, then there's lots of references for people to go off and look for other things to find out more information. So that's what I've been doing over the last 3.5 years or so.
Wow, that's
Okay.
amazing. So you've got some policy questions.
Yeah, so, for me personally, I think what are the two most pertinent things that you have touched upon within this book and in this sort of history of African and Caribbean people in the UK? For you yourself, the two most pertinent things.
Oh, that's a very, very difficult question. I would say, I think the thing that's come out of the book, even though I knew it already, but it's made me kind of realize it, appreciate it anymore, is the kind of struggle against racism in this country, especially in the 20th century. In previous centuries as well, but the 20th century in particular. You know that in Britain racism was legal until 1965.
Yeah.
In other words, it wasn't illegal as a point. There was no laws against racism
Madness.
before 19. That's not to say that after 1965, as we know, it went away. I mean, in some ways, it got even worse. But before then, there were no laws. So, the kind of struggles that people waged were just in every aspect of life. In housing, in employment, in education, in sport.
Yes.
Because, of course, you guys know in Manchester because you have the great,
Some great sporting activity in the city.
Great sporting heroes. I was going to mention in particular Len Johnson, who was actually involved in the Manchester Congress, but was a very famous Mancunian boxer.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the 1930s, 1940s, and also a very big campaigner against racism in Manchester and the surrounding area. But one of the key things about Len Johnson and others was that they couldn't fight for any British titles in their time because there was a colour bar in boxing. So if you were not white, you couldn't compete for a British title.
Ridiculous.
Before 1948. So there are other examples from sport as well. Jack Leslie in football, who was selected for England, and they kind of apparently found out he was black, and so he was deselected. Levels of struggle that people had to wage in their everyday lives kind of continually, hits you. And as I say, even going up to 2020 with, the numbers of people, killed by the police, by Windrush scandal, by the various laws which have been brought in, particularly in the 20th century, starting from, the 1920s, the Coloured Alien Seamen's Order, the British Shipping Assistance Act, the Aliens Acts, all the immigration. The whole century is full of racism. And the other key thing about this racism is it's state racism.
Yes.
It's not like you're walking down the road and some person calls you something. This is the state passing laws, organising the police, organising, unemployment benefit offices to deny you the dole. This is what's going on. So this is really the source of racism. So that's one thing which is, kind of leaps out. And as I say, the struggles that people went through to fight against that, to oppose that. People like Len Johnson, real heroes of that struggle, the contributions that they made, the organisations they formed, in Manchester as well as in other places. This is going back, I'm talking about 1940s, 1950s, throughout that period and before, 20s, 30s and so on. That's very, very important. So that's one thing that stands out. I mean, there are many things that you could pick on, I suppose. One is, another is like the importance of women, and the way in which, women have kind of been written out of history. And as a historian, you have to be very careful, because the sort of, it's not just that written history excludes women or hides women, but the archive hides women. And just the way of presenting history is, you need to be very sensitive to it. It's very difficult. I'm not sure necessarily that I've achieved it. I wouldn't claim that I have. I've tried in various places. Of course, this particular book relied a lot on what other people have written. It's not, I'm doing all what we historians call primary research, where you're going to the archive, or some of it is, but a lot of it would have taken me 10 years if I'd done that over 2,000 years. So you're relying on other people. So I mean, if say you look at the Manchester Congress, for example, no, we would say, well, it was organised by, George Padmore, Ras McConnell, Peter Milliard, and so on. But you can be pretty sure that it's mainly organised by women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably. Because even if you look at the famous picture, you know that, the people who took notes, the stenographers were all women. Probably a lot of the catering was done by women who are not necessarily named, or they might be the wives of, probably many of them weren't even Africans.
Exactly.
So that was, you find that behind these important Pan-Africanist men, you find various women who are not necessarily well known, and that's true to a large extent, throughout history. So that they're not necessarily the most prominent, let's say, but they're often those who organise things. I mean, to give another example, which is not a British example, but if we looked at all the previous Pan-African congresses, the 4 congresses organised by W.B. Du Bois mainly in Europe and in New York in the 1920s, they're mainly organised by women.
Yeah.
That we call them the Du Boisian congresses, but it's mainly women who organise them. And in some cases, it was women who financed them as well.
Wow.
So that's important. And in the history of Pan-Africanism, I always tell my friends, especially in the US, that Pan-Africanism, it was like developed in Britain, which is true, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. And you look at the first Pan-African conference, the first conference to be called a Pan-African conference was held in London in 1900. And it's normally associated with a guy called Henry Sylvester Williams, who was a Trinidadian lawyer. But the person who inspired Henry Sylvester Williams and who actually organized or inspired the launch of the African Association, which was the organization that convened the conference, that person was a woman, was an African woman called Alice Kinloch. So Alice Kinloch, until very recently, was completely written out of history. We don't have any photo of her. I think there is a photo, perhaps not a very good one. But she was a South African woman. She came to Britain. She came as a kind of political activist to alert people in Britain to what was going on in South Africa in the 1890s, the terrible conditions that African workers, miners, and others faced, and she spoke around Britain. I can't remember if she spoke in Manchester or not, but she spoke. She spoke in many different places, not only in the south but also the north, and she inspired the creation of the African Association, which everybody at the time recognised that she was the. So the founder of modern Pan-Africanism is an African woman. Called Alice Kinderman.
Proper.
And so these kinds of things, you could say leap out at you, and then there are things like I could go on forever about this, but for example, another thing which comes out of you is what is hidden from British history. So we know that. The activities of African, Caribbean, and other people is kind of hidden and written out. But it's like the history of everybody is written out of Britain's history because, in the 18th century, one of the biggest kind of movements in Britain's history was the you can say anti-slave trade, the anti-human trafficking movement of the 1890s. Mm-hmm. We're used to hearing about Wilberforce and all this kind of thing, but the movement against human trafficking was particularly a movement of working people in places like Manchester. In fact, Manchester was at the heart of that movement. And it was ordinary people, workers, men, women, to some extent children, who organised against, they boycotted sugar. They stopped drinking sugar. In those days, of course, they didn't have the vote. They didn't have any political rights. And so they signed petitions, something like 1.5 million people. This is like, what is that? That's like something like 15% of the population signed petition. It's a massive political movement, but nobody talks about it. You go to school in Britain and you'd never hear about this, perhaps the biggest political movement in Britain's history.
Wow.
A movement against, as I say, against the slave trade. And people like, what's his name, Wedgwood, produced pottery, commemorating this movement, and people had, posters on their walls of, anyway, all kinds of things went on. So it's one of the first movements involving workers, one of the first movements involving women, probably involving children as well to some degree. But
fantastic.
Very, very important. And to some degree, those things continued in the 19th century. But then the other thing about that movement is the role that Africans played in it, because obviously there are people like Equiano, who's quite well known, and others, Cugoano, who were writers and who, wrote books at the time. Equiano's book was a bestseller. Everybody read it. It was translated into other languages. But these guys also had their own organization, so they organized themselves. They had an organization called the Sons of Africa, and there were probably other organizations as well, to write letters to the press, to encourage other abolitionists, and then they lectured up and down the country. You'd have a meeting about, human trafficking should be abolished, and you'd have some African would speak at it and give their views and so on. So these are, this is like the history of the people of Britain.
Yeah.
But it's not, the powers that be don't want people to know it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Because when you know it, you draw very definite conclusions about this history. There's a guy, Equiano, very interestingly, was not only a member of the Sons of Africa, he was a member of another organisation called the London Corresponding Society.
Okay.
The London Corresponding Society was a kind of, like a radical organisation. a radical organization in those days meant that you demanded rights for ordinary people, the right to vote, the right to have a say in the running of the country and this kind of thing. And it was led by a man called Thomas Hardy. And Equiano lived with Thomas Hardy and his wife. That just shows you how close they were. And Equiano, because he went around the country, he kind of introduced Thomas Hardy to various people who he thought might be interested in the London Correspondence Society and its politics. And Thomas Hardy wrote to one of these guys, and he said that, he wrote to him and he said, I hear that you're, I can't remember exactly, so I'll have to paraphrase it. He said, I hear from Equiano that you're a friend of, or you're a supporter of the rights of Africans. So he said, I assume from that you're also a friend and a supporter of the rights of, working people generally. Because he said, for our politics, is if you're for the rights of Africans, you must be for the rights of working people. And if you're for the rights of working people, you must be for the rights of Africans. So this is in the 18th century. Some people haven't grasped this today.
Foresight, insight.
Yeah.
Now you have to fight for the rights of all. You can't just fight for the rights of one section and not care about anybody else.
That's right.
So this is 18th century, very advanced politics, which everybody should know that. That's what people in that time were saying. But these things aren't necessarily taught in schools or even.
Can I just come in there, please? Can I just come in there, please, as well? Because we've spoken about this before, about just for instance, we had peace just for Pan-African people, but we resided in a space that had people from all different ethnicities. We could experience peace for a short period of time, but after a while, the space where they don't have peace would either impinge where we are, or we'd move into a space where the peace doesn't reside and then get into conflict. So truly, for all humans to have peace, we all need to have peace simultaneously at the same time.
Exactly right, yeah. And we also have to understand why there's an absence of peace. In other words, what creates conflict and war, because when you check that out, you find that the cause of, racism, poverty, war, violence against women, or whatever these things are, they all have a similar cause. So these guys in the 18th century, when they said, okay, we understand if you're for the rights of one, you're for the rights of all, they recognized that those who were oppressing Africans were also oppressing people in, mill workers in Lancashire. They had the same enemies. And that if people recognize that, not only when you're fighting for the rights of Africans, you're understanding, well, we're fighting against actually this whole economic system which exploits people irrespective of color, black, white, it doesn't matter. So this is a kind of lessons that we today can draw from history, as you say, and this is what they said in 1945, that they were concerned about, they said, oppressed people of the world unite. And they were very keen that, workers in Manchester supported the Congress and so on, because they recognized that if people came together, worked together against their common enemy, it's not enemy necessarily as a person, but enemy in terms of the political and economic system in which we live, then it was a problem that could be solved. And at the end of the day, we want solutions to these problems. We don't want to go on struggling forever, complaining forever. We want to be in a position where we've resolved these problems. And that, as they said even in 1945, then you have to deal with what's the source of these problems. And in 1945, they said, well, it's the monopoly of capital, they called it.
Yes.
We need to get rid of it. What they called the alien political institutions. So they were talking about how those alien political institutions have been imposed on Africa or imposed on the Caribbean. But if you think about it, those political institutions have been imposed on Britain as well. because nobody in Britain has ever chosen this political system or this economic system. It's been imposed by, the rich and powerful, the white men of property, and so on. And those political systems mean that the majority of us have no decision-making powers. We're not empowered to make decisions about, education or the health service or anything. So to change those things so that we become the decision makers is like a very key question that they began to think about. Well, these guys were thinking about in the 18th century, they were thinking about it in Manchester in 1945, and we're still thinking about it and working out how do we do it? How do the people the majority of us who create everything, we create value, or we educate those who create value, or we nurse and doctor those who create value. But the value that is created, we don't have any say about what happens to it or anything else.
Yeah.
No, you're right there.
That leads me on to a point as well, actually.
Go on.
So, you've spoken at length about some of these political issues, and I remember in my own research and work that in the 20th century, the African and Caribbean community was saying that, no, we can't find any solace or respite in the Conservative Party. That was a given. But actually, they were saying that also with Labour, it was the same thing, that Labour was not a safe haven for the African and Caribbean community. And I think we see that again, these problems don't go away, they just change their face and evolve into something new. And we see that again now. So how would you say that, we would now refine the fight for freedom, for legacy, for autonomy from these alien institutions, as you mentioned before?
Well, the fight remains very similar because the conditions in which we live remain similar, as I've just said, in that we live in circumstances where we don't have any decision-making power. What we need to do, you could say, to put it very simply, is we need to fight for and construct a system in which that's by we I mean the majority of people, are the decision makers. And actually we decide what happens on any particular question. And that's true for Britain, it's true for Africa, it's true for the Caribbean, because in all these places it's the same, political and economic system where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, where people have no decision-making powers and so on. So that's what needs to change. So I think one important thing is the recognition that is what is required, because the powers that be will tell us that, well, actually, this is the best democracy in the world. Whether you're Britain or you're in the US or you're in Nigeria.
Yeah.
What's the problem? You vote every 4 years, 5 years. Well, what's the problem? But that is the problem. That voting is meaningless, and as you said, it doesn't matter who you vote for. The system remains exactly the same.
Yeah.
And so it's not the political parties that need to be changed, but the political system itself. Because if you look back in history, that political system of having a couple of parties or whatever dates back to a time when nobody even had a vote.
Yeah.
So the powers that be had their political parties even when people didn't have a vote, and they'd have the Whigs in power, or they'd have the Tories in power, or they'd have whoever. It didn't mean anything, and we basically have that same system, which is a 17th century system where power resides with the rich and powerful. And they say, okay, yeah, you can put a cross on a piece of paper, but that's meaningless. So yes, we have to find a new way of. We're not living in the 17th century now. We're all literate. We're all highly educated. We're all capable of deciding, what should be done in the world. And when we have that decision-making power, then we'll be in a position to, as you know, you were talking about, we'll be in a position to have an anti-war government, a government that doesn't go and invade other countries, that isn't concerned with, selling armaments to other countries, which isn't concerned with being involved with, NATO or with whoever, which is actually just concerned about the well-being of people in this country, of course, the well-being of people elsewhere.
That's right. And
So,
if we could just stop there, because I think that's an amazing space to stop in terms of creating equality across the world. And we've got Sideman coming on now for our live stream. So Professor Hakim Hadi, we really want to say thank you for all your time, and actually to end on that, I think it's amazing, and that's what See My World is about. It's about creating equality through excellence and everyone doing it collectively together. So let's give a round of applause to Professor Hakim Hadi. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So thank you for tuning in, guys. We're just gonna have an intermission break. Simon's coming next, so big up yourself and stay locked in. Peace.
going on, people? Welcome to See My World Festival 2021. Let's hear some noise in the studio. Yeah. It's been an amazing start to the festival. Sunday at Contact Theatre, Musumba, Ziggy, We Are Parable, Keisha with the films. Absolutely amazing. The Q&A was so insightful. What an amazing day. Monday, what do we have Monday? With the 8-4 youth workshop on post-traumatic stress in the community in Marseille. It was an amazing workshop. Tuesday with House X at Studio 25. Big up Studio 25. Yeah, bigging up the dance community and the Pan-African community there. Yesterday, we had the Manchester Hip Hop Archive Symposium, which was absolutely ridiculous. Big up to Unity Radio and Sefton for putting that on, man. That's one of the best panel debates I've ever been in my life. The truth about our culture and how that's influenced our generation. Like, we need to do that more. So, big up to you guys for watching today. Welcome to the studio. We got Sideman in the house. Raise up the roof. There he is. Hey, who you talking to? Yeah, man. So what are you saying, Sideman? What's going on?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you, man. Like, last year we didn't have a pot to pee in, blood, and you supported us, you know what I'm saying? And your rise over the last 12 months has been pretty mad, I'm not going to lie. And then obviously we met again on the documentary, the CBeebies documentary, innit, where my daughter is in Hear Us Now. It's about a manifesto of young people from different schools around the country trying to create equality for everyone and obviously represent our people across the UK, which is amazing. You're such a massive influence on that. Yeah?
No, thank you, man. Thank you.
Always. So how's this year been for you, just quickly? How's life?
Can't complain. Just bought a house. Been working and, you know, striving to achieve my goals and, you know, talk about the things that I care about.
No, that's proper, man. Your garden looked big, boy. I saw you with the big robe when you was playing tennis or badminton and thing, innit? Life's good, innit? Life's good. So let's just get straight back into it, yeah? So the first question I wanted to ask, you know, last year we've seen, you know, the rise of COVID-19, the pandemic's gone into overdrive. And we've come out of a lockdown as well, so there's been a big polarity with, you know, our human social behaviour, you know, and the national vaccination programme, etc., etc. So how has that basically influenced your work over the last 12 months?
It's changed the way I work in a lot of ways. A lot more Zooms, as evidenced by this. A lot less, you know, in the flesh thing, but it also, you know, it involved me, you know, using skills that I've acquired over the years. So in terms of during the pandemic, during the lockdowns, you know, marketing agencies needed creators that knew how to film, knew how to edit, not just people that would come and then, you know, be filmed and be edited by somebody else. They needed somebody that could handle the whole production part. And, you know, I have that in my wheelhouse because when I started, I didn't have an editor. I didn't have a cameraman. I had to kind of do those things by myself. And I've always had ambitious content. So I've always done sketches and stuff like that. With actors and stuff like that. So when big brands needed me to do full production adverts, I've done stuff like that. And yeah, it's affected how much we communicate with one another and the ways in which we communicate with one another, because of course, during the pandemic, I feel like you just kind of have a realization of how much human interaction is important. And I feel like we diversified the ways in which we communicated with each other. You saw things like, you know, the verses, battles with rappers battling each other and DJs battling each other. So I think it changed a lot of how we view and see content, which I'm a content creator. And, you know, as for Black people specifically, I feel like it changed a lot. I feel like if certain things like, you know, George Floyd's passing didn't happen during a pandemic, we wouldn't have been able to hone into it as a culture like we did, because we, you know, we were all at home and kind of like wrestling with this online footage that we saw that really changed everybody's life forever. So, yeah.
Wow. And talking about the verses, that's been pretty mental, hasn't it? What's been going on there. And God bless his soul, DMX. But yeah, DMX versus Snoop, and the way they paid tribute to Bounty Killer and Beanie Man. You know what I'm saying? Swiss Beats and Timberland, they said, yeah, we've done all of this, but let's not forget the people that we started it with. Like that's when our thing bust. When Bounty Killer and Beanie Man did their thing, our platform went solar. So yeah, so Versus, I think that's a great representation of Caribbean culture and how we always influenced the popularity and the transformation of social change. As
It says a lot about
Pan-African.
celebratory clashes as well, because I feel like that's been a big thing in Jamaica, where you have clashes between artists where the camaraderie is still there, and I feel like Versus is just a new form of that, where there's a competition, there's a clash, but it's celebratory. Both artists are only involved in this clash because of the legendary,
Status.
body of works that they've provided.
No, that's amazing. I caught the is it D Block Locks versus
the Lux versus
Dipset. That was a mad. That's the one that nearly got wavy. That's the one that nearly got wavy. Oh, that was sick. That was actually cold. So so you've been influenced. So you've learned a lot of editing skills. It's kind of like propelled your creativity to a new realm as well. And obviously you've taken influence from other content creators. And what I love about Swiss Beats and Timbaland, they got their deal with Triller, didn't they? And what they did is they gave their shares to the contributors of Versus, which I think is amazing to turn that shareholder system into more of a stakeholder system. So then by them performing, they get shares in the platform with Triller, which I thought was absolutely revolutionary. What do you think about that kind of deal going into your industry?
I think it's legendary. I think it's revolutionary. I think it's what needs to happen to take things to the next level. A lot of people don't know that those are the things that, you see, those things are being more publicized now, but those are the things that push deals over the line. The friendships that you might have, the people's relationship that you might leverage, their audience being leveraged with your audience and things of that nature. It's a big thing. I look at even like the +44 podcast that I do with Zizi. She's got her audience, I've got my audience. We've merged those audiences. I think anytime we do that in the culture, we stand to do better business. So definitely, I respect that move.
That's proper, and I want to see that more. I definitely want to see that more. So just coming back to that, what's the inspiration behind your work? And you can obviously involve your +44 podcast, which is absolutely phenomenal, doing mad numbers at this moment in time.
The influence behind my work at this stage in my life is to entertain, of course, because as I started as a comedian, but also to educate, to have real life conversations, to have real life dialogue. I feel like content right now that doesn't say anything, that doesn't mean anything, that doesn't have a deeper message, don't really work for me. And I think that's something that was born out of the pandemic as well, and everything that happened around that time. For me now, the purpose is and I don't have big scale goals of changing the world, but I've realized how much detriment one person can be to everybody in their social group. So same way, if you fix a person's mindset, they can be a positive force for good in their community, in those that they encircle, or just not be that negative force that they have been. So for me, when I put out content, when I do videos talking on topics and stuff like that, I'm looking to change one man or one woman's mindset. Do you get what I'm saying? Or one young person's mindset. Because if you change one individual's mindset, you can save the lives of anybody that they would endanger, anybody that they would encroach upon. And that's my logic. I'm not trying to save the world, but I am trying to maybe change one mind at a time.
So just moving into that, like, what gave you that mindset, bro? Because it's very unusual for someone to have such a kind of empathetic understanding, and to do that in the realm that you're in, where actually there's a lot of fast money, bro. 5 bills, 5 bags, you know what I mean, for a post, 15 for a post. Do you know what I'm saying? So how are you maintaining that mind state? I'm really interested to understand.
Money is just not everything to me. I grew up in a Christian household, and no matter how much money I make or how successful I do, when I go back home to my parents, the first thing is, are you good inside though? Are you still you? Have you maintained your morality? Have you maintained your principles? Have you maintained the things that make you you? Do you still have your foundation? And because I'm constantly being pulled back to, humbling myself and having those internal conversations, I haven't gotten too high-minded that I've just abandoned morals for money. That's never been my thing, because I never wanted to make all the money in the world. I just wanted to make enough money to feed my family, look after my loved ones, and take care of my friends. So, and I feel like I'm doing that whilst maintaining. Of course, there are things that I could do that would make me even more money if I was to engage in them, but I'm cool where I'm at. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I feel like I would do a disservice to myself if just for the pursuit of more money, I looked at myself in the mirror and didn't recognize myself.
Okay. And just with that, how have you been able to manage that transition? Because obviously financially over the last year, I'm seeing that you have become much more financially independent, and you're sharing that with the world. So how have you been able to make that transition? Because, you know, for a lot of people, especially from our communities where there isn't financial education, when people see that money, then that's when things start getting wavy. Do you know what I'm saying? So how have you been able to keep a stable state of being with that financial independence coming and more money traveling into your bank?
I guess, as I said, my mission with money was never the flashy. I guess I've just maintained what my purpose was. Like, as I said, I grew up very poor. So I was born in Jamaica, but even by Jamaican standards, where I lived, the situation that I was in was extreme poverty. I'm talking about, I didn't have tap water. I used to have to go down the road and collect water from a bucket, from a tank. Like, that's the life that I used to live, and I never forgot that. I always remember, like Oxfam adverts, I lived that. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's just like, I never forgot that. So when it came to money, I really wanted money. Like, where I get pleasure out of money is not by, you know, buying a Rolex or anything like that. It's literally having the money in my account and saying, you know what, my family's good, I'm good, things like that. But in terms of even financial literacy, I would say I've been somewhat late on that, and I've made mistakes in the sense that I should have bought a house ages ago. I should have, there was a point when I was living in Wembley in London, spending £3,000 a month on rent for an apartment. And I did that for like a year. When I think back to that money now, I could have got another mortgage with that, and I'm doing that now. I'm buying up a property now, but I could have been doing that from ages ago. So there's certain things that I could have been doing from early that I wasn't doing, and certain ways in which I could have invested and spent my money. But you know, I'm doing it now.
Well, well done to you, bro. For real, man. That's
Thank
a
you.
big transition, man. So, like, even getting things like houses and stuff like that, people have to proclaim it because it isn't something that's just the norm anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know,
I'm not about not celebrating myself. No one can make me stop. I don't care if somebody, like, if I buy a house, I'm gonna say, yeah, I did that. You know what I'm saying? I pat myself on the back so that I don't need your pat on the back.
no, that's right, man. And I feel like more people should do it. And actually, we should be doing it to each other. We should be celebrating each other. And every step someone makes forward, we all move forward. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's big, man. So let's move on to the next thing. Yeah, so your aspiration, you spoke about your aspiration. Has that changed given what's happened with the pandemic and what's been happening in this country with the lockdowns and, you know, the vaccinations and the idea of COVID passports, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
For me, not wildly. It just makes me value life more and what's important about life and, you know, experiences. Like, I truly, because of the pandemic, understand that anything could be around the corner. Sometimes I think about when I was growing up in school, COVID was around the corner and none of us. When man was playing football, when man was chilling with their brethren, whatever we was doing in life at whatever stage, COVID was around the corner and none of us could have conceived of it. And that lets me know that life is unpredictable. So you have to live life to the fullest. You have to make sure that you do what you can while you're here. You know what I mean? You have to make your mark. You have to, whatever your mark means to you, because my mark doesn't necessarily mean that I am a name or a household name. My mark to me might mean that I make sure that I have a, like, even like with my parents, regardless of COVID or not, my parents are getting older. I want to make sure that I have all the experiences that I've always wanted to have. I don't want them to pass and say, we didn't do this or we didn't do that. So that's why one of my next big goals is for us to have a family holiday. I feel like that we've never had one. So I feel like all four of us, me, my mom, my dad, and my brother, need to go on a holiday. So it's stuff like that. So I think it changed my aspirations from, even though they weren't crazy materialistic, they've become even less materialistic now and more about, you know, emotion and relationship.
I love that, brother. I love that, for real, man. For real. So given that, and obviously at the moment, especially in social media, you're quite a prominent figure. Where do you feel the social context of melanated people is in the UK?
Obviously, it's starting to change how we're viewed, how we're perceived, but not enough. And that will take a long time, because what we need to remember is that London or Birmingham or even Manchester don't represent the entirety of the UK. You have places like Ipswich, you have places like Shropshire and Yorkshire and all the other shires where barely any of us are. And so we have to remember that. And those mindsets aren't being affected by the media our media or our influences like how London and Birmingham are, so we don't even understand that, and we only kind of see the effects of that when it's time to vote for things, and then we realize, oh, we forgot where we lived. You get what I'm saying? And you kind of remember when you see things like we were all saying, it's coming home, and then it didn't come home, and then all the racist rhetoric came out, and then you remembered where you lived. You know what I mean? You forgot for a second. So I think we're making strides, but we have to put our foot down even further.
It was mad, actually. I've never seen that kind of outpouring from the British public when it came to the defacing of Dr. Marcus Rashford's mural in Wivington, and also when Saka missed that penalty in the final. And even when Arsenal played Tottenham, the Tottenham fans and the Arsenal fans clapped Saka when he came on the field. I've never experienced that in my life.
They took British football somewhere it hadn't been in some people's whole lifetime. Mm-hmm. They deserved that kind of honor. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, and big up to all the footballers before them, Cyril Regis, John Barnes, etc., that, you know, paved the way. And all the people from Kick It Out, etc., the Troy Townsends, Rare, even up-and-coming managers and coaches, like Justin Cochrane, who, you know, did the under-17s England. It's been a long journey, but I feel like things have definitely changed, and by using sport to help create that change with the knee, etc., coming from Colin Kaepernick and what he had to go through when he played for the 49ers, and then being exiled and not being able to come back for 3 years. Yeah, there's been a shift, but nowhere close to where it needs to be. But the shift is sizable, and it's something we should definitely be celebrating for real. So, yeah. Other than that, do you see any other transitions? Obviously, sport's been used as a way of creating equality in certain areas of society. Do you feel like there's been any other transitions? What about your industry specifically? We'd love to know about that.
One of the big transitions is we're learning how to complain more as a people, which is great. Properly, you know, written complaints, call up the manager. We're learning how to do that because that's been one of the barriers of access to us from getting justice in a lot of ways. But we're learning now how to sign petitions and do things of that nature to effect real change. In terms of my industry, we're seeing a lot more black people in front of the camera, but most importantly behind the camera. If you do not have black people behind the camera, it's no point in putting them in front of the camera, because if you have a black person in front of the camera, but producers, directors, cameramen, everybody else behind the camera is white, or you get what I'm saying? Then what you will have is a black person that's only filtering out a white story. Mm-hmm. Do you get what I'm saying? Because they can only be a mouthpiece for what the writer has written, for what the director directs. You get what I'm saying? And so that's why we need to permeate every aspect of media. And we're seeing a lot now. We're seeing it with like Channel 4's Black to Front, where they had black programming all day long. That's a very, very brave choice for them to make, because as I said earlier, we still have to understand that we represent a very small portion of the population, and we can't get gassed by how much black people we see in London or Birmingham or even Manchester, because you have to remember that there's a Ipswich, there's a Shropshire, there's a Yorkshire, there's a Bournemouth, there's a whole bunch of places where we aren't that prevalent, right? Mm-hmm. And to know that Channel 4 is a national station that caters to all of those demographics, and then they choose to have black programming for an entire day, I think that's a great leap, because usually they would have just had one black program. So things are definitely improving in the media industry, but as I said, it can always improve more. But we still have to take hope in what has changed, because you can't build nothing with hope. What we're going to build now is equality, but you can't build if you don't have hope. And hope comes from, you know what, that little smidgen of evidence that things are changing.
I love that, and this is why I want to pay homage to the See My World team. I want to big up AIM, I want to big up Woody, I want to big up Ricardo, and we've got AIM on the production, we've got Woody on the sound direction, we've got Ricardo on the live stream, we've got Aisha and Saif managing the project, we've got loads of other partners that are melanated. Actually, as part of this festival, we've got 112. Yeah, let's hear some noise. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. Even my man's clapping. You know what I'm saying? For this festival, we've got 112 melanated organisations and individuals that are contributing to the festival. So that's something that I
beautiful,
feel
man.
very proud of. Very, very
That's
proud of.
beautiful because sometimes, you know, one of the things that I annoy me the most about the music, the media industry is that they call me the talent because I'm the person that's in front of the camera. But everybody's talented and everybody plays a role. Somebody booked me, you know, somebody's making sure the sound's right, somebody's making sure that the footage is right, and everybody, you know, it's a cohesive effort that we all put together to make the thing possible. So definitely appreciation to all of those people that are making today happen.
No, that's proper, man. And obviously, big up Tunde, co-director. So let's hear it up for Tunde there. Woo, 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 woo. Wherever he is.
And big up to yourself as well.
Thanks, man. Thank you, brother. So, yeah, let's get back to that, though. You spoke about George Floyd, obviously Breonna Taylor, and the countless names that have died at the hand of police brutality. Do you feel like that, along with the Black Lives Matter, has had a positive and constructive impact on creating equality in this country?
100% in the world. We've never seen anything like that. That's the biggest civil rights movement of the last 50 years. We've never seen anything like that before in our lifetimes because countries you didn't even think of. There was marches in Germany, in Italy, everywhere. It had a great social impact, and I think it invigorated a lot of black people to speak up more. I know it changed me. It changed me forever. Before George Floyd, I had the mindset of get your money. And I think, you know, a lot of our parents instilled that in us, you know, you're in the people's country, just get your money, keep your head down, be quiet and survive. You know what I mean? And that's what we've been on. We've been on survival mode. But I think like when George Floyd passed, it's like, no, not survival mode now. We have a right to be here. We have a place here. We should be treated equally. And you know, with that much more of a stronger voice and more bravery to express those opinions and to use that voice, we're seeing more changes. We're seeing corporations make promises that they never made before. And whether they keep the promises or not, they're making them. They weren't even willing to make a promise before, but we're seeing promises of monetary promises, changes in policy and stuff like that from government to industry. So I think a lot has changed, a lot.
And God bless everyone's soul that died at the hand of police brutality and all those Trayvon Martins, etc., that we must remember. So God bless you guys. And God willing, none of that will happen in vain. Okay? So yeah, there's been a massive transition, and it's absolutely unbelievable that even though we saw George Floyd die in front of us, people are still skeptical that justice would prevail. And how do you feel about that? And that being the psychosis of our people across the world.
Makes sense. I would argue that if the case wasn't so public, he probably would have gotten away with it. Wow. If a camera never got pulled out that day, if that footage wasn't shared around the world, like even if a camera got pulled out that day, but it wasn't shared the way it was shared, because you know we've seen footage of Breonna Taylor, we've seen footage of plenty of people, and it hasn't gone this far. But the way that was shared, the level of public interest in that case, I believe definitely you didn't want to be the judge or the jury.
Yeah, to not pass that.
That case, to bypass that. So and that teaches us a lesson. One of our greatest, we don't have the kind of economic infrastructure as a people to really effect change, but what we do have is a voice, and we need to understand the power of the media. We need to understand the power of social, and social media and things like that. We need to understand that and use that, because it's one of the few weapons that we actually have to make noise about certain things, so that certain things can't be swept under the rug and gotten away with.
Yeah, well, that's perfectly coming back to you in terms of what kind of changes have you seen happen as a result of your campaigning on social media?
I've seen a lot of different things in terms of my talking.
What's your most noteworthy?
Most noteworthy ones is probably obviously leaving the BBC, because I left the BBC, of course, because they allowed a white presenter to say the N-word on national television on a morning news show, and I thought that was incorrect, but that's not why I left. I left because 18,000 people complained the right way through emails. You know how boring and long it is to send an email, and nothing was done. But then I quit, and when I quit, the BBC apologized for letting that go out within 24 hours of me quitting.
Wow.
I've seen that happen, and I've seen most recently, New Magazine, which is a magazine that issued a cover with all of the Love Island finalists except the fully black couple, which was Kaz and Tyler. I spoke out about them and I said that it wasn't right that they had Kaz and Tyler off of the cover.
Okay.
And when I did that, they apologized within 24 hours also. So I've definitely seen a lot of things change via. There's other ones as well, but I just can't remember them.
No, and well done there, man. And basically, it's just standing up, celebrating human rights. Basically, that's what it is, an equality. And it's important that we always remember that, because people try to polarize the issue about black and white as opposed to people wanting equality. So people from European backgrounds also wanting equality, and us wanting equality for ourselves. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, no, that's proper, brother. That's proper. So, yeah. So we touched on this before. So do you feel we're more unified as melanated people from the street to the boardroom?
We're more, but we could be more. We're more, but we could be more. So I feel like we're bridging that gap a lot more now. But I feel like we need to be so integrated into government. Like, I feel like we're struggling to figure out what the best method is, because some people feel so hard done by government and system, they don't want to integrate themselves into it. But every culture that we've seen that's been able to integrate themselves properly into this country to the point where they have a say has integrated. Sometimes you have to grit your teeth and integrate into a system and then change it from within. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you have to learn to master to do that. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Because it's the only way that I've seen so far that gets actual results. So, yeah.
No, I hear that. So, yeah, you spoke about your heritage before. We'd like to know, where you're from and what cultural values you've been able to bring to what it is that you do today. And then I'll ask you a further question about why you think it's important to preserve and archive that. So where are you from, and what values were you taught from where you were from?
I'm Jamaican, and, values that I taught was kind of intrinsic, not so much in terms of words. I learned general principles that probably just come from the fact that I come from a Christian household, not so much culturally, but culturally, I've learned to not be ashamed of my talent. Jamaica is not a country where, like Britain, I've noticed humility is the thing here, but almost humility, where you don't show your talent, you're not confident in what you do, you downplay it, and Jamaica just did not teach me that. It taught me to be extravagant and boastful and confident about what you can do, and to express it and show it and make your mark and stand out. And that's been a big part of why I'm where I am today, because I don't have a fear of doing, because I grew up seeing that all around me. I grew up seeing people proud in their expression of who they are, what they are, where they come from, and everything like that. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. And what about so Jamaica, what about the environment? Was it the dance? What about the food? What about the drink? What about the dress?
All of it, man. All of it, the colour and the vibrancy of it. Coming to Britain, I realised something that a lot of my British friends that are British born never experience. They never experience just growing up around their own people being predominant. I spent the first 11 years of my life having never seen a white person. Wow. In Jamaica, I grew up around my own people. That feeling of belonging allows you to have a stronger feeling of self and know who you are. So I came from Jamaica knowing who I am, knowing my culture, knowing about the reggae, knowing about the dancehall, knowing about all of those things that make me who I am on the inside. That vibrancy, the love for food. I always say to British people, you can't give me Caribbean food here because the soil ain't right. You gotta get it from the right ground. Mm-hmm, you get what I'm saying? And so, of course, it's absolutely pivotal that be preserved. Yeah.
What's your favorite food from Jamaica? That's just for me.
I'm a basic brother, so rice and peas and chicken.
Mm-hmm. Mine's
But you see, rice and peas and chicken, when you get that Jamaican rice and peas, it's a different rice and peas, because the ground, the soil, it produces something different. You understand what I'm saying? Wow. You could eat the rice and the gravy alone without even touching the chicken. It's a different experience.
Mad thing. Yeah,
it's a different experience when you see the chicken running around in the garden before you eat it later.
Proper, fresh, organic, free range, everything.
Fresh.
Yeah, so obviously we got another 5 minutes. Just want to break this down quickly as well. And what's your vision for melanated people moving forward? And what are you doing in your work to bring that to fruition?
My vision is for us to have a greater sense of self in the world, for us to really, really stamp down on having our own things, right? Not just being a part of cogs in somebody else's machine, but having our own systems. Now, I don't know why we as the people haven't created our own social media apps yet. Like, that's something we should have. We make social media pop. We do that. We are the ones that make social media pop. We make social media interesting. We're putting all our creativeness into companies that aren't made by us. You know what I'm saying? So I want us to own. My vision is for us to own things, because the thing about owning things, is that when you own things, then you can offer opportunity to others. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's when you can do it from a place of heart and not a place of capitalism. Then that's what I'm saying. If I have a business, for instance, I have my business, right? And I said for the foreseeable future, if I'm doing a sketch on my page and I'm using a girl, it's only black women. That's what I chose to do. Because to offer my sisters opportunity, that's not a capital idea. Because if I'm thinking capital and I'm in a country that's predominantly white people, it would make more sense to use a white person so I can reach a wider demographic. But I'm not thinking about capitalism now. I'm thinking about heart and my people. So if we put ourselves in positions of power, then we can move with heart and effectively bring up our people to where we're on the ladder.
For real. I feel the same way. Let's have a clap for that as well, though. Come on, man. Yeah, man. And how do you wish to move forward to make this happen?
Well, I'm doing my part by first and foremost saying the things like what I've just said. You know what I mean? Having those conversations on camera, having those conversations behind camera, and then being an example of that. Because I made it public, I made it publicly known. If you're gonna come onto my Instagram page for the foreseeable future, if you see a girl in my sketch, it's gonna be a black woman. If you're gonna see me working with companies, for instance, I just got my garage conversion. I looked for a black company to do that with. You get what I'm saying? So I'm living, and obviously anybody I do that for, when they grow up, they're gonna remember that I did that, and they're probably gonna think, you know what, that's a good idea. Let me try and work with my own too. So you know what I mean? I'm just trying to lead by example and talk the talk as well, so people have it as an idea in their head.
Yeah, man. Well, we're trying to do exactly the same thing, man. So let's support each other for real, yeah? So, yeah. Let's give it up to Sideman for coming in today. Yeah, man! So, thank you, Sideman. You just keep up the great work, man. You're doing an absolutely phenomenal job, yeah? And we support you, we love you, and just keep it up, man. You're inspiring so many people out there, man. And we're lucky to have you for real. So for you lot out there, thanks for turning up to this talk, Q&A with Sideman. Stay locked in. We've got Hacky Maddy as well. And also, make sure you go to seemyworld.net to live stream all our events or get tickets. We've got the big one on Saturday. We've got Western, Drea Mac, July 7, Jules Baby, Star One, Darker, DJ Silva, G2, Sim, July 7. Make sure you get your tickets on Skiddle. So big up yourself. Another round of applause for Sideman. Peace and
Welcome back to See My World, a festival of Pan-African experiences.
Last year we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the 5th Pan-African Congress that happened right here in Manchester. I'm going to say thank you to the 14,000 people from the 66 countries that supported us.
But you know we got to go harder, we got to go bigger than the last. The performances from Western, Sideman, me, Drea Mac, Abnormal Sleeps, July 7, and many, many more.
Come see our workshops, seminars, exhibitions, and live film premieres in person, online and live stream from seemyworld.net. Get your tickets on Skiddle, Dice and Eventbrite.
Online or live in the flesh, come on, you've got to be there.
Come see our world.